Malaysia and Turkey agreed to elevate their bilateral relationship. And also, Trump orders U.S. withdrawal from 66 international organizations. Salam Malaysia Madani, I'm Pranila Paul. Malaysia and Turkey have agreed to elevate their bilateral relationship into a high-level Strategic Cooperation Council, or HLSCC, to fast-track cooperation in trade, investment and the economy. Prime Minister Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim says the move reflects strong mutual trust between both countries at a time of growing global uncertainty. Speaking after a joint meeting with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Ankara, Dr. Sri Anwar said the enhanced framework will go beyond traditional trade ties to include technology, defense, education, research and Islamic finance.
And therefore we realize that pious platitudes, friendship is inadequate in this world full of uncertainties, which requires new attitude, new policies, particularly to enhance trade, investments, and collaboration in all fields. So thank you for agreeing to enhance our cooperation into a high-level Strategic Cooperation Council. And on behalf of Malaysia, I must state that this is rare.
Distinguished Prime Minister of Malaysia.
Earlier, both leaders co-chaired the inaugural Malaysia-Turkey HLSCC meeting, where Dr. Sri Anwar stressed the need for swift action to turn commitments into tangible outcomes, saying conventional bureaucratic processes are no longer sufficient. Both leaders then signed a joint declaration on the establishment of the HLSCC. The Council provides a structured and institutional framework to further elevate bilateral cooperation, reflecting the close and long-standing ties between Malaysia and Turkey. On trade, the Prime Minister said the $10 billion bilateral trade target between Malaysia and Turkey is well within reach, citing the strong fundamentals of both economies. Turkey's resilient economy, combined with Malaysia's rapid growth, provides a solid base to expand two-way trade and investment. He noted that Malaysia has emerged as an attractive destination for high-value investments, particularly in semiconductors, artificial intelligence, data centers, new technologies and the rare earth industry.
And I think this sort of collaboration should be more meaningful, not only in terms of traditional level trade, but also new disciplines which will be cemented through educational, research, collaboration between our two countries. That's why the mechanisms must be put in place.
The Prime Minister added that bilateral cooperation will be further expanded into halal industries and Islamic finance sectors seen as having strong joint growth potential. Malaysia's trade with Turkey from January to November 2025 stood at 21.2 billion ringgit, while in 2024, Turkey ranked as Malaysia's third largest trading partner in West Asia, with total trade valued at 24.15 billion ringgit. Dr. Sri Anwar said these figures underscore Turkey's growing importance as a key economic partner for Malaysia. Dr. Sri Anwar and Erdogan also witnessed the signing of 7 documents to strengthen strategic cooperation between the two countries across various fields of priority. Among the documents signed was a letter of acceptance for the procurement of a multi-purpose mission ship between Malaysia's Home Ministry and Desan Shipyard. The Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission (MCMC) and the Information and Communication Technologies Authority of the Republic of Turkey also signed an MOU in the field of ICT. Malaysia-Turkey Financial and Investment Cooperation was further strengthened through the signing of a financial cooperation MOU between E-Sim Bank Malaysia and Turk E-Sim Bank. as well as an investment cooperation MOU between MIDA and Invest-Turkey. Both countries also exchanged the minutes of the first meeting of the Malaysia-Turkey Joint Committee on Higher Education.
Minister of Higher Education of Malaysia, Datuk Sri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir, will be
Earlier, the Prime Minister has been conferred the Order of the Republic, Turkey's highest state honour, in a recognition of his role in strengthening bilateral relations between Malaysia and Turkey. The award was presented by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan during a ceremony at the presidential complex in conjunction with Datuk Sri Anwar's three-day official visit to the Republic. Also present at the conferment ceremony were Foreign Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Hassan, Higher Education Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir, and Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Sri Johari Abdul Ghani. The conferment underscores the deepening partnership between Malaysia and Turkey, built on mutual respect, trust and growing cooperation across multiple sectors.
Menggosok baju sekaligus boleh menjimatkan elektrik.
US President Donald Trump is pulling the United States out of a foundational UN climate treaty and the world's leading climate science body, marking a major withdrawal from the United Nations system. The White House says 66 international organizations are being exited, calling them contrary to US interests. Among the most significant is the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the parent treaty behind all major global climate agreements. However, the US Constitution is unclear on how presidents can withdraw from treaties, a legal grey area that could face challenges. Trump has also exited the Paris Climate Agreement again, after rejoining it was reversed under former President Joe Biden. The memo also orders the US to withdraw from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, along with other climate-related bodies. In addition, Washington is leaving UNESCO and the World Health Organization while sharply cutting foreign aid. Funding cuts have affected agencies including the World Food Programme and the UN Refugee Agency. The White House says the withdrawals are part of a broader effort to protect US sovereignty. The US Coast Guard has intercepted Venezuela-linked tanker in Latin American waters on Wednesday. The US military Southern Command said the Panama-flagged supertanker M. Sofia, which is under sanctions, was intercepted before dawn and described it as a stateless sanctioned dark fleet motor tanker. Southern Command said in a statement the U.S. Coast Guard is escorting M. Sofia to the U.S. for final disposition. Footage released by the team shows U.S. military personnel descending from a helicopter and taking control of the ship in open waters. According to shipping data and industry sources, the vessel departed Venezuelan waters in early January. It was part of a group of ships transporting oil to China, with tracking systems switched off to avoid detection. M. Sofia, along with 15 other tankers, evaded the U.S. naval blockade seeking to stop Venezuelan crude shipments right after Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's arrest over the weekend. Meanwhile, a sanctions expert has warned the U.S. seizure and boarding of the Russian-flagged oil tanker Marinera, formerly the Bella One, is a move bound to raise tensions with Russia and risks escalation. Gonzalo Saiz of the Royal United Services Institute described the boarding and detention of the vessel after it obtained the Russian flag as a clear example of U.S. resolve to crack down on sanctions-busting shipping. He noted that Russia has taken a big leap out of the shadows by reflagging nearly 20 so-called shadow fleet vessels, raising both legal and environmental risks if they spill oil at sea.
seizing tankers is a very costly measure. Of course, these military operations have their own costs. And then there's a very significant question that has to be answered, which is what will happen to the tanker? How long will the seizing authority be willing to keep this tanker at port? Will it pay for the maintenance? What will happen to the crew and the cargo? These are questions that have traditionally deterred coastal states from taking such actions. The US is really reshaping the playing field in this regard.
The Marinera was empty of oil, but the US says it and the M. Sofia belong to a shadow fleet of tankers used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. Caracas has announced at least 100 people were killed in the United States military attack that ousted and captured Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, a figure higher than earlier reports. Interior Ministry also confirmed a similar number were injured in the assaults. Officials say the death toll includes dozens of Venezuelan and foreign soldiers, with 32 Cuban military members reportedly killed, reflecting Cuba's role guarding Maduro. The Venezuelan government has declared a week of mourning for the victims and continues to condemn the US operation. Meanwhile, thousands of Venezuelans marched through the capital demanding the release of Maduro. Protesters also mourned those killed in the attack as authorities warned of possible further strikes. The Venezuelan military released video of funerals for soldiers killed in the operation, showing coffins draped in national flags and grieving families. The opposition has remained largely silent as an emergency decree bans public praise of the US action. And up next, Storm Goretti sparks chaos as more than 700 flights were grounded. Stay with us. Google and startup Character AI have reached settlements in multiple lawsuits filed by families who accuse artificial intelligence chatbots of harming minors, including a case linked to suicide. Court filings show the settlements cover cases in Florida, Colorado, New York and Texas, though they still require final court approval. The terms of the agreements have not been disclosed. One of the lawsuits was filed by Megan Garcia, whose 14-year-old son, Sewell Setzer Jr., died by suicide in February 2024. The suit alleged the teenager became emotionally dependent on a fictional chatbot on the Character AI platform. Google is connected to the case through a $2.7 billion licensing deal with Character AI signed in 2024. The settlements mark a significant development as tech companies face growing pressure over the impact of AI on children and vulnerable users. Winter's icy grip is tightening across northwest Europe as Storm Goretti hammers the region. The Atlantic storm has triggered a 6th straight day of travel chaos, turning Amsterdam Schiphol Airport into a massive makeshift hotel. Over 1,000 travelers were forced to sleep on terminal floors on Wednesday night after more than 700 flights were grounded. Airport officials are calling the scale of the disruption exceptional.
We've been here for a couple of hours, still here. Yeah. Nothing's been done. Give us a bottle of water. What they want us to do with that, I don't know.
But not days yet.
Well, fingers crossed.
While hundreds of emergency beds, blankets and meals have been handed out, the misery is far from over. With traffic snarls and rail delays mounting across the continent, Schiphol authorities warn that the knock-on effects will likely trigger more cancellations throughout the week. Meanwhile, Bosnia faced a combination of extreme weather challenges as heavy snow and rain hit the Western Balkans. Some areas, including the town of Konjic, southwest of Sarajevo, faced intense snowfall that blocked roads. Other areas faced floods and high water levels in rivers. In historic Mostar, some tourists braved the cold conditions to see the iconic 16th century Mostar Old Bridge.
It's pretty cold. Like a person who belongs to a tropical country, it's tough for me and it's freezing. Still, we're enjoying because of the historical insights and everything. And the water is very beautiful. So, and we're struggling, but we're having so much fun.
And we were checking the weather the last few days, and we were afraid of flooding yesterday. So today we checked the local websites, and it said the weather warning is only on the yellow side, so we can come here safely by car. And we really wanted to come to Mostar, so like it's worth trying.
Newly surfaced video shows the moments after a fatal shooting involving U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement or ICE agents in Minneapolis. Authorities say the woman was shot and killed on Wednesday during an immigration enforcement operation, the latest violent incident linked to President Donald Trump's nationwide immigration crackdown. The killing sparked large protests in Minneapolis, with heavily armed federal agents later firing chemical irritants at demonstrators. Investigations into the shooting are ongoing. Still in the United States, residents who lost their homes in last year's deadly Palisades wildfire rallied in Los Angeles, accusing local, state and federal leaders of failing to prevent the disaster and to support survivors afterwards. At the Day Let Us Burn rally, demonstrators marked the one-year anniversary of the fire, which killed 12 people and destroyed large parts of the coastal neighborhood. Rally organizers and survivors accused authorities of deflecting responsibility, citing a lack of transparency, accountability and meaningful assistance. Survivors are now demanding answers and action from leaders at every level. And in sports, Manchester City, Aston Villa slip up again in Premier League title race. Stay tuned.
Satu gelanggang, satu juara, ribuan harapan. Rasai bahang Axiata Arena. Siapakah yang bakal tewas dan siapa yang bakal menjulang piala? Kejohanan Badminton Petronas Terbuka Malaysia 2026. Dari 6 hingga 11 Januari ini. Di saluran OK, juga di RTM Play.
We begin with local news. A first-round victory at the Malaysia Open 2026 has provided a timely confidence boost to national men's singles shuttler Leong Junhao to continue his campaign before home fans at the Axiata Arena. Junhao, 26, admitted that his straight sets win over China's Wang Zhengxing 21-17, 21-17 was far from straightforward, with the Malaysian having to dig deep, especially in the later stages, to seal the match.
Lawan tadi memang saya ada agak tough juga sebab di second set pun ketinggalan dan kejar balik dan menang. So, saya rasa lebih seronok lah untuk game tadi.
Junhao will next face either Taiwan's Lee Chia-hao or Indonesia's Jonathan Christie in the second round. At last year's edition, Junhao exited in the opening round after losing to another Chinese opponent, Lu Guangzhou, 17-21, 21-16, 13-21. National men's doubles pair Aaron Chia Soboyik lived up to expectations by clearing the opening hurdle. Now they advanced to the second round of the Malaysia Open 2026 after defeating the United States. Chen Ziyi, Presley Smith 21-11, 21-19 within 35 minutes.
first start dekat 2026. Ya, hanya dekat second set sana ada sikit unforced error, tapi kita juga manage to crawl back and won the game. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Wu Ying expects a tough encounter against China's Chen Zhujun Liu Yang in the next challenge. However, he hoped the victory would serve as a positive start and that they would regroup to discuss improvements ahead of their next match.
It's a new start and new play also. Selalunya kita pun nak sesuaikan diri dengan cepat lah. So saya harap dan it's a positive start lah untuk today dan kita try to bincang lagi apa yang boleh buat di kelangkang ini sebab di situation semua lain kan.
And also, professional mixed doubles pair Goh Soon Huat, Siobhan Lai Jami dug deep to book their place in the second round of the Malaysia Open 2026 with a gritty comeback win. The 8 seeds overturned a first game loss to edge past Taiwan's Wu Guanjun and Li Jiaxin 15-21, 21-19, 21-14 in a 56-minute encounter that tested not just their skills but their resilience during the first round of the season opener. Soon Huat admitted the match was a tight affair as he and Siobhan, who is also his wife, were not in good condition, forcing them to adjust their game plan during the match. He revealed that Siobhan had suffered food poisoning the night before the match.
Sebab dia jaga dia satu malam tak berapa tidur lah. Pandang saya hari ini condition tak berapa bagus, so dari first set kita masih cari momentum dengan rhythm sebab ni Taiwan new pair juga, so kita tak berapa tangkap mereka punya bola, so agak sikit lambat tangkap walaupun kita first set kalah sudah, tapi kita masih cari taktik yang baru.
In another mixed doubles match, at least one quarter-final slot is guaranteed for the nation as the pairings of Chen Tangjie, Toh Yiwei and Ho Pang Ron, Cheng Su-yin are set to face each other. Earlier, Tangjie, Yiwei were also the 2025 world champions and the tournament's 4 seeds, defeated Indonesia's Jafar Hidayatullah, Felicia Alberta, 21-12, 21-17. The English Premier League in football, Manchester City and Aston Villa failed to close the gap on leaders Arsenal after being held to draws in early morning matches. City were held 1-1 by Brighton, while Villa were forced to settle for a goalless draw against Crystal Palace. At the Etihad Stadium, Erling Haaland netted his 150th goal for City from the penalty spot in the first half. Kaoru Mitoma equalised for Brighton after the break. City's attempt to find a winner proved futile despite several clear chances, including a late effort by winger Cherki in the 88th minute. City now have 43 points, 5 behind Arsenal. Arsenal could extend their lead to 8 points with a home win over Liverpool in the early hours of Friday. Meanwhile, Aston Villa were held to a 0-0 draw away to Crystal Palace. Unai Emery's side failed to find the net despite dominating possession and registering 15 attempts on goal. Villa remained third in the EPL with 43 points, level with Manchester City but separated by goal difference. In another match, Manchester United under interim coach Darren Fletcher were held to a 2-2 draw away to Burnley. Substitute Jadon Anthony scored the equaliser after United had taken a 2-1 lead through their main striker, Benjamin Šeško. At Craven Cottage, Chelsea reduced to 10 men for nearly 70 minutes, lost 2-1 to hosts Fulham. The defeat saw Chelsea drop to 8th place below United. On to tennis, top seed Lorenzo Musetti came back from a set down to beat Thomas Martin Etcheverry on Wednesday at the ATP 250 Hong Kong Tennis Open. The Italian has never lost to the Argentine, but did not get off to the ideal start, having to come back from a set down to eventually win 6-7, 6-2, 6-4 to progress to the quarterfinals. The 23-year-old will face local wildcard Coleman Wong after he shocked 6th seed Gabriel Diallo earlier in the day's play. Andrei Rublev also needed to come back to win as he overcame Wu Yibing, taking the match 3-6, 6-2, 6-1. The world number 16 ended last season in poor form, only winning 2 matches after his round of 16 exit at the US Open. Rublev will play Nuno Borges in the quarterfinals, with the Portuguese 28-year-old seated 8th in the tournament. Now, the US reached the semi-finals of the United Cup Mixed Team Tournament after beating Greece 2-1 in Perth on Wednesday, as Coco Gauff defeated Maria Sakkari before returning to clinch victory for the defending champions in the doubles. Gauff, a two-time Grand Slam champion, beat Sakkari 6-3, 6-2 in an hour and 26 minutes to put the US in front. 4-7-5 win over world number 9 Taylor Fritz to level the tie. The 27-year-old was afforded little time to savour his first top 10 win since 2024. However, returning to the court just half an hour later alongside Sakkari to take on Gauff and Christian Harrison. Momentum swung wildly in the match hard-fought decider, with both teams taking a set apiece to send the match into a tiebreak. In motorsport, Saudi Arabia's Dakar Rally champion Yazid Al-Rajhi ended his title defence after withdrawing from Stage 4 on Wednesday due to technical problems as Toyota's Henk Lottehan surged to the overall lead. Al-Rajhi struggled early, losing time to punctures before pulling out 234 kilometres into the marathon stage near Alula. The setback capped a tough year following a serious crash last April that sidelined him for months. Lottehan, last year's runner-up, claimed his fifth career stage win and now leads Qatar's five-time champion Nasser Al-Attiyah by 3 minutes and 55 seconds overall. Al-Attiyah finished second on the stage to climb up the standings. Four drivers, Matthias Ekstrom and Carlos Sainz, sit third and fourth overall, while overnight leader Mitch Guthrie drops to 13th. In motorcycles, Honda's Tosha Serena took the overall lead from defending champion Daniel Sanders, with American Ricky Brayback second after a strong Honda-dominated stage. And that is all in World Today. In our top story, Malaysia and Turkey agreed to elevate their bilateral relationship into high-level strategic cooperation council. Do join us again tonight at 8:30 p.m. on saluran Berita RTM and TV1. You can also stream us live on RTM Click's website or mobile application. Till then, I'm Brenda Lepal. Thank you for your company and take care.